Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Carlos, but you can call me Cali. In this tutorial, we are going to explore cross-site request forgery. First of all, we are going to understand what is CSRF. Then we are going to move and understand how this kind of attack works. Then we are going to actually construct our own attack. And finally, we are going to cover some prevention techniques. So let's get started. So first of all, what is cross-site request forgery? It's a security vulnerability that allows attackers to trick users into executing unwanted actions, unauthenticated web applications, leading to unauthorized actions without user consent. For this kind of attack to succeed, three conditions must be in place. The first one, a relevant action. This means that the user should be allowed to create, update, or delete data. For instance, we have fund transfer, changing user email or password, making purchases, deleting resources, etc. Then cookie-based session handling. This basically means that the user needs to log in and a session cookie must be created. And finally, non-unpredictable request parameters, which is a vulnerability in web applications where requests lack unique dynamic elements that can help validate their authenticity. So how does it work? Well, first of all, user logs in into a web application. The user enter their email address and their password. Then a session cookie is generated to maintain user authentication and session state. Once the user logs into the application, the attacker will craft a malicious link or a script that performs an action on the target. We are going to learn how to create this kind of script. Then the user is tricked into clicking the link or visiting a malicious page while still logged into the target site. So for instance, here the attacker will have some pretexting that will try the user to click on that link. For instance, here we have, hey, you appeared on this website and all your photos have been shared. Most likely the user won't remember or don't know what kind of pictures the attacker is talking about. And this user will try to click and see what's going on. However, the link, even though that says photos.com, the hidden malicious link, it's going to transfer money from their account to the attacker account. And finally, the browser uses the user's credentials to request the target site triggering unwanted actions. So now we're gonna go and take a look at the script, how this may look like. So for instance, here we have some CSRF HTML script. Here we have some basic information and a form. These are other kind of scripts. We're going to check it out later. So let's take a look at this website. How will it look like if we open this on the browser? We are going to open this on the browser and see what it looks like. So for instance, let's go to the code. Let's go to the code right here. And here we have welcome to my fake bank. Click the bottom below to preview your photos. So here you can see there is no form that tells you what it's actually doing. However, if we right click and we click inspect, then we can see here there is a form that it has three different input values. Two of them are hidden and one it only displays these C photos. But if we remove these hidden values, for instance here, and we replace this for text, and we do exactly the same for the second one. Well, in this case, we're gonna be number. This is the form that we are sending if we click the see photos button. Here, we are sending funds to the attacker. We are sending $1,000. and here is the submit button. But what if we click on the bottom right now? It won't take you to anywhere because this website, as you can see, is hosted on local host. This website actually does not exist, but the attackers will create and register a domain similar to this, and once you click this button, it will send a transfer for you to the attacker. So now let's go back to the code. Let's see what we have here. As you can see, this is what I mentioned. We can replace here as text, and here we can replace it with the number. Then we refresh our website, and it will look like this. So now what if we don't have this form? What if the attacker only wants to show us a picture, or when you click it, let me put it back to hidden. Now let's refresh and you won't see this anymore. But what if the attacker decides to only share an image? For instance, here we have a tag. If you're familiar with HTML, this is going to store a link. As you can see here, we are transferring the fonts to my fakeband.com transfer PHP. This is the website, and here are the parameters that we are sending. For instance, to attacker and amount $1,000, and this link is hidden within this image. Let's go to the website again. Let's refresh it now. And now you can see only this Google image. But if you actually click on this image, it will transfer the fonts for you. Look at this here. This is the parameter that we are sending in our request. So the victim will click here and the funds will automatically be sent to the attacker, and you didn't notice about this kind of attack. And here we have one more example with auto submit. This is a little bit more complex. Well, actually it's not complex. I would say it's longer. There's a different, now here we are using JavaScript. It performs exactly the same operation as the previous script. So here we have create a form. Let me show it to you. So here we have this previous form. Let me uncomment this section. This is how you add comments here. Okay, so now we can see, let's refresh the website, and now we can see here we have a form. Let me remove this to text. Let me change this one to number so we can see the form. So now here we have the form, and here we have our image with a malicious link. Now let's go and take a look at this the same form. Here we are creating the form element. As you see here, it's the form element. Here it's the method that is going to be post. That's here. And it will contain exactly the same information. However, this time we are using JavaScript to create our script instead of just HTML. So now let's go back to this presentation, and now it's time for the practice labs. So before we get started, we need some essential tools in account setup. The first one is we need an account on PortSwigger. This is completely optional, only if you want. If you want to follow along, you can go and create your own account. Then we are going to need PortSwigger. You can download it and install it. And finally, an integrated development environment to write tests and debug code. In my case, I am using Visual Studio Code, as you already saw it right here. We are going to create all these scripts from scratch with a practical example. So let's go to our examples. So here I have open Mozilla Firefox. We can go and click on PortSwigger. You can go and visit this link as well. I'm gonna leave the link on the description. Then here you are going to be logged in if you haven't logged in yet. Or if you need an account, you can go and create one. So the first thing that you're gonna see once you logged in is this web page. So now we are gonna click here on Academy. Then we are going to go to all content, all topics. And now we're going to find the cross-site request forgery. If it's the first time on PortSwigger, you can go and read all information here. If you want to learn more about web security, you can start from here. So read all the information available on the website. We are going to go to client-side topics. So here we're going to click on cross-site request forgery. So here we are going to find all the information that I already shared with all of you. If you want to learn more or review the information, you can come here and learn more about this kind of attack. So we are going to visit all the labs. So here we have the first lab, cross-site requests forgery vulnerability with no defenses. So let's go and take a look at this. So this is the lab. So here it says this lab's email chart change functionality is vulnerable to CSRF. To solve the lab, craft some HTML. As we saw right here, we are going to create some HTML that uses the CSRF attack to change the viewer's email address and upload it to your exploit server. As I mentioned, this script must be hosted on a server so that the attacker can send the link to the victim. So here we have some credentials. Let's go and access the lab. These are the credentials they are providing to us. The username is going to be winner and the password is going to be Peter. So let's go and visit this lab. Meanwhile, we can open Burp Suite since we are going to be intercepting the request with our Burp Suite proxy. So this is the web application. This is the lab. Let's open Burp Suite. We're gonna click next, start. So let's explore the web application. So here we have this random string that websecurityacademy.net. Oh, this is our Burp Suite. Don't worry about this. We can click on proxy and then we can wait here for a while and check the website. So here, as you can see, we have this go to exploit server. Here is where we are going to share our HTML or our script. This is the website, as you can see. It only shares some information with some photos, some text. We can add comments here. As you can see, there is a form where you can share your name, email, and website, and post the comment. Let's go back to blog. So now let's go and log in. So if you remember, the username is going to be winner and the password is going to be Peter. Then here is the website that we have. As I mentioned, we are going to first open Burp Suite. We are going to turn our intercept to on. And here we are going to try to update the email. If you remember from the presentation, let me go back to the previous section. If we go here, we need these three conditions for our attack to work. So a relevant action, here we can update the username, the email, sorry. So the first condition is met. Then cookie-based session, we can go and explore that sadly right now. Let's go to PortSwigger intersect its on. Let's go and test with test at test.com. Let me turn on the PortSwigger here, and then we are going to click on update email. Okay, so first of all, as you can see, this is our intercept, what we intercepted. We can go and click forward, then we can turn off our PortSwigger. Let's go to history, to the post. We can right click and send it to repeater. Here on repeater, we can start analyzing the information that we have in front of us. So first of all, let's go back to the presentation. A relevant action, update email. As you can see, we are able to update the email. Second, we need cookie-based session handling. Here we have some cookie session, as you can see here. And the third condition is non-unpredictable request parameters. So here we do not see any unpredictable parameters. The unpredictable parameters will look like something similar to this, CSRF, and it's going to be some random strings right here. So this would be an unpredictable parameter. In this case, we do not have this. We only have this information. So what if we click on send? We can see that we get 302 found error found. So what do we have to do when we find these kind of things? If you have the pro version, you can go here and generate cross-site request forgery. However, we are going to do it everything from scratch on this tutorial. So we are going to go to Visual Code. You are going to open, and then we are going to create a new file. We're going to call it left1.html. Oh, it seems I cannot write here, so let me create a new one. New file, HTML. We're gonna start it here on the desktop. We are gonna call it love1.html. There we go. Here we have created our HTML text. Let me replace this HTML. So first of all, we are going to start creating our HTML body. You don't really need to create these head. It's not necessarily for this kind of attack, but we need to add this HTML tag right here. Even the language here, it's not necessarily, but in case you want to leave it, you can keep it. So first of all, we have our body. And then as we saw in the previous script, we are going to create our form first. So we're gonna come here and we're gonna type form. So that's the first thing we are going to do. In the form, we have to add an action. In this case, the action will take the URL that we want to attack. So we can go back here, and here we have the host. We are going to copy this link. What we are copying right here, if you are not familiar with this, is basically this right here. This is what we are going to copy and we are going to use. So if we go to PortSwigger, here we can copy, and then we go back to our Visual Studio Code. We don't forget we have to add HTTPS. Then we are going to paste the link. However, we have to make sure we put the correct URL parameter. So here in the post request, where we try to update the email, this is going to be the route. my account, change email. So we are going to copy that and paste it here as well. Let me see right here. So here we have, first of all, a form action, and we are going to add our method. In this case, we're going to use post. As we see here, we have method is post. Oops. Let's go back. So the first section of our script is completed. Now what we have to do is we have to add some input values. If you remember from the previous script, here we're going to have some type. We're going to use hidden value right here. The name is going to be email. Why is email? Because if we take a look at here, it says email. If this would say password, we would change here from the password. Then we are going to add a value, which is going to be the email address that we want to update. So let's say it's going to be attacker. Then we are going to use some HTML entities so that the browser process our request. Because we could add this like attacker.com. However, this @sign and this .sign could be filtered and the browser won't load our request. So here we are going to use what it's called HTML entities. For instance, if you want to add an ad, it's going to be designed 64. Then we can add a attacker again. This would be attacker at attacker.com. Oops, so this would be no, this would be this one. There we go. So it will be, so here what we have basically is this attacker at attacker.com is what we have. And actually you can come here and type HTML entities. If you're not familiar with this, you can come here to symbols, and here you're gonna find the HTML code. This is for the @symbol. As you can see here, you have this attacker at attacker, and then we can go and try to search for the dot. It's going to take us time, so let's move on. Okay, so we have our input. For text, we want to update the email to this email address. And then we have to add the submit button. So here is going to be type equal submit. Then the value is going to be whatever we want. Submit request. So if you want to know how I am creating this just by typing the word and it autocomplete for me, just let me know in the comments and I will add the extensions that I'm using on Visual Studio Code. So once we have created our form, we have to create a script that will submit the form for us. So we're gonna type script. And we're gonna close this tag. We are open here. And in this section, we are going to use the auto submit form. So here's going to be document.forms. That here's going to be index 0. and here is going to be submit, and here we're going to close, sorry, our script with semicolon. Do not forget to add semicolon in the end of the line. So okay, so now we successfully have created um our script, as you remember from the previous section. Let me show you. So here, users logs in into a web application. We already did that. A session cookie was generated. True. And then we have already created our script. And now it's time to add this script to a link or host it on a website. And finally, it will send to the big team. So here we are going to copy the script. We're going to go back to our lab. So here we can go to explore server. We're open it. This explore exploit server will host our script. In a real life scenario, the attacker will host this script on a web application. So now we can store this script, and then we can deliver it exploit to victims. So here we are simulating that we are sending the script via a link. So here, congratulations, you solved the lab. This means that our script worked. So let's click on view exploit. Let's see if it let us see the content. As you can see, now we cannot display this information since the session cookie was replaced. However, we were able to solve the left. So now let's take a look at one more example. Let's go back to, no, here, let's go back to the View All Labs web page. Here we have All Labs. So now let's take a look at the CSRF. We're talking validation depends on a request method. As you can see in the previous exercise, we have a post request. Now it's time to take a look at this exercise and see what we can do with this one. So we are going to exit the lab. We're gonna let the page load for us. And as you remember, here we are going to create a new script. This already worked. Let me close this one. This one. You can actually copy and paste the same script if you want. I am going to create a new file. It's going to be called lab02.html. It's going to be .html. Let's create this. So here, let me change this template to HTML so that I can use the question mark signs and then enter, and it will create all the header for me, all this information. You don't really need this header right now, so we are going to use only body. We can go back to this previous one, copy and paste it if you want. So let's do that to save time. So we copy the script from this script to the form. Then we are gonna paste it. However, in this case, let's go to the left. Oh, it seems that failed to close correctly. Let me go and open this one more time again. Okay, now it loaded. So here is the same exactly website where you can post some comments. We're gonna go to the account, but first of all, let's go and read about these labs. So we have CSRF, we're talking validation depends on request method. This lab's email change functionality is vulnerable to CSRF. It attempts to block CSRF attacks, but only applies defenses to certain types of requests. To solve the lab, use your exploit server to host an HTML page that uses a CSRF attack to change the viewer's email address. You can log into your own account using the following credentials. Okay, so now let's log in, winner and beta. That's the first thing we are going to do. Now we can go back to PortSwigger. We can close this one if you want. Then we are going to go to proxy. I am going to delete all these previous requests so we don't get confused. For history, yes, as you can see, everything is clean now. Intercept is off. If we go to repeater, everything is clean. So let's go to proxy, intercept is off. Let's turn it on. Now here, and click on forward this one. And let me change this one here. Okay, now it's working. Let me go back. So here we're going to do the same test at, let me click update. Let me go to PortSwigger. Here we are. This is our request. Forward, forward, forward. If you don't see this, don't worry. It's okay. We are going to turn it off so we don't get all the requests all the time. Oops, so proxy HTTP history. This is the request. We want to send it to repeater, the post request with my account change email. And here we are. So first of all, let's go and see if this website meets with our parameters. So let me go back. So here a relevant action. Yes, we have an update email. We can update the email right here. So the first condition successfully met. Second one, cookie-based session handling. We have the cookie session, which meets the second parameter. And finally, we have a non-unpredictable request parameters. This time we do have the CSRF, which is an unpredictable parameter, but it doesn't mean that our attack is not going to work. We only have to play around and see how we can bypass these unpredictable parameters. So the first thing we're going to try to do is we're going to try to remove and try to send a request and see what happens. As you can see here, it says missing parameters, CSRF. So it means that we cannot delete the CSRF token. The second thing we are gonna try to do is we are going to try to change the request method. So we are gonna right click. Here you see change request method. We are going to change it. And now you can see before we have a post request, now we have a get request. And so what if we send now this new request? As you can see here, now it seems that it worked. Let's try to remove the CSRF token. Let's try one more time. And then we got this 302 found. So we can assume that it worked. So now we can go and create our script. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. As you remember, we have created this form, the action here. Don't forget that we have to replace it by the actual URL. So here we have the host. We're going to copy this. And then we are going to replace it. Oh, let me just this. and I type HTTPS, then we paste our URL, then we need to add the route. It's going to be my account change email. So there we go. We have our action. Then we have the method. If you remember from the previous exercise or from the previous script, let's go to right here, not this one, but this one. What we are updating now is this action, our URL. In this case, in this example, myfakeband.com, whenever the user clicks on this image, if you remember the Google logo, it will redirect the user to this URL that will perform the action on behalf of the attacker. So here we are going to do exactly the same. We are going to redirect the user to my account to change email in order to change the password. The email, sorry, the email address. As we saw, if we have only the post request, let me go back. Then we send this information. Oh, it seems I removed the CSRF token. Let me re-add it again. There we go. So now if we send it to post and then we send the request, we're going to get an error. Where is it? So here on this exercise, let me do it again. Let me change this. Let me go to proxy. Let me send to repeater one more time. There we go. If we remove this CSRF token, we're gonna get a missing parameter, the CSRF. But when we change it to the change request method to get, and then we send it, we don't get that error anymore. So here what we have to do is we have to replace this method from post to get, but this time we don't really need to add the method and change it to get. So now we are going to copy our script. As you can see here, we're going to go back to the application to PortSwigger. We are going to go to exploit server. One more time, here we are going to store our HTML script. In a real life scenario, most likely you're gonna host this script on a web application. You're gonna call it I don't know, my script.com. So you send it to the user, to the victim, and they will click on that link. So here we have the same parameters, email, value attacker at attacker.com. We're going to click on the store. Then we are going to deliver exploit to victim. And we have successfully solved the left. We sent our link to the victim clicked on the link, and our email was updated. Let's see if we can check it out in this one. No, it won't let us see the request, but we have successfully solved the lab. So now that you've learned how to perform the kind of attacks, you can come here and practice with more labs that are available on PortSwigger. Let's go, let me show you where all the labs are. As you remember here, cross-site request forgery, then view all CSRF labs. So here you are gonna have more labs to practice this kind of attack. And now let's go to the final part of our tutorial, which is the most important, how to prevent this kind of attack. So first of all, we can create CSRF token on your, let's say you have some Node.js script. So here we install the npm dependencies. For instance, here we have the CSRF. Then you can also install cookie parser and body parser, and this is how it will look like your script. As you see, you have the form, you have the method, but here you have an additional input value that it's going to store your CSRF token. And on the right side, you have some Python and Flask script. It's going to be similar to the previous one. Here you have a token that it's going to store your session that pop, and here is the CSRF token. That's the first method, how to prevent this kind of attack by adding CSRF token. Secondly, same site cookies. On your application, you can set the same site cookies. On your left, you have some Node.js. Here, the second way to prevent this attack is refer header validation. Check the refer or origin headers. On the top, you have Node.js, and at the bottom, Python and Flask. As you can see here, we add the body parser that URL encoded. And here we are going to add the refer as request headers that refer or request headers origin. And on Python and Flask, you can also add, first of all, you have to import the request import, and here you're going to add the refer header validation. And finally, you can also add content security policy on your web application. So thank you very much for watching this